Govannen, my Elven brothers and sisters. All right, so we are going to get started. You should be starting up there. We're going to go ahead and get started now. And again, this is kind of a different workshop than most of the kind I've done before, where we're just going to talk about pretty much just about anything that you want to say. Yeah, thank you. That'd be great. Oh, there we go. A little bit more light on the subject. All right. As you can see behind me, it's a very crowded library I have. We only have so much space here, so it's a little bit crowded. All right. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to ask questions about spirituality, elven healing, even medical questions. Pretty much, as long as it's not imposing on my privacy or my family's privacy, you can ask just about anything that you would like. So again, welcome to Sean and Adriana Tarja, and my wife is famous. She's the one that's on right now, and Morwen, good to see you also. Hello, hello. So again, I want to give an opportunity for you to ask questions that maybe you don't normally get an opportunity to ask. Again, I'm happy to talk spiritual, Elven concepts, history, healing, spirituality, philosophy, anything of that nature you like. If you have medical questions, I'm happy to do that. For most of you, I think you know, I have 20 years of history as a doctor, and I've trained in multiple med schools and been around the world doing a lot of different things. We ran the California's largest naturopathic medical center. And so you pretty much name it, we've treated it. So if anybody has any, even medical questions, keeping in mind that if you're not actually a patient of mine, I can only answer general questions, but I'll try to answer them from a historical point of view so that I can give you as much detailed information as I legally can. But give it a shot, ask and see how much I can answer from it. Okay, so I see right off the bat, Morven, you're trying to switch back to a more of a vegan diet with the majority of it raw. Do you suggest any other things? That's a great question. We've had that quite a bit, especially when we ran the Naturopathic Medical Center, again, here in California. We treated thousands of patients over the years, and one of our protocols is, and it's a mandatory protocol, if you come into the clinic or into my medical practice with a chronic condition, that can be, in other words, it's not something like you just went and got a boo-boo or you have a cold or a flu, but something that's been going on probably for 6 months to years or decades. It's one of our rules that before I will treat you, you have to agree to a vegan diet because we need you to be able to heal as quickly as you can. So I'm not just a doctor, but I'm also a certified nutritionist. And so one thing we always offer is anything about nutrition we offer for free. We flood our patients with menu plans and recipes and nutritional charts and such, because such a common thing we see is the patients coming in and they're insisting that I've tried vegan before and it doesn't work, or I get really sick when I do it, and so I can't be vegan, and my other doctor told me I can't be vegan. All right, well, unfortunately, that is absolutely not true, and I've had this debate for over 2 decades. Be careful, and I'm a doctor too, but at least I've become a certified nutritionist besides just being a doctor. You have to be careful of getting nutritional advice from most doctors in the United States, sad to say. In the 1990s, there was a federal mandate that said all doctors, whether it's ND, MD, OD, doesn't matter what kind of doctor, all doctors in the United States were mandated to take nutritional courses in med school. To this day, in the United States at least, only 6% of doctors in the US have had even a semester, and most of them, if even 2 hours. So 6% have had zero. Only 6% have had at least some nominal kind of nutritional education. That means 94% of US physicians haven't had a single hour of nutritional education, and yet they feel like they can advise their patients nutritionally, and their advice is usually absolutely horrendous. So one of the big mistakes that people make when they go vegan, thinking that the veganism was caused it, is for many people when they go vegan, it is a very cleansing, or can be a very cleansing diet. And you can go through a huge detox. And I've had so many people go, oh, I went vegan and I got sick. And as soon as I quit being vegan, I didn't get sick anymore. What they did was they stopped the detox. And if they had just stuck with it, they would have made it through, and they wouldn't, and it would have gone away. So to your question, Motorwin, in 1981, I became a vegetarian. In 1991, I became a vegan. And I got to say, for some people would say that was harder, but I think I was really blessed that I became a vegan then and not now. Because back then, when you became a vegan, all that was out there in the stores was some tofu and some plant-based yogurt, which wasn't very good. That was pretty much all that was out there. So when you became a vegan, you were pretty much required. You had to learn to cook. You had to learn to make your own food, because there was no vegan fast food. There was no vegan processed food. You had to make it all yourself. And so vegans in general back then tended to be a lot healthier than they are now. Back then, shortly after I became vegan, there was a website that came out called Vegan. It's a great website, don't get me wrong. Veganessentials.com. All right. And back then it had like 10 products on it. And ooh, we can get vegan donuts, because it pretty much didn't exist before then. Okay. Now veganessentials.com has over 1,500 products. And so that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing. It's good because we like to call all the different foods that out there is transitional food. It's to transition you to being a vegan, to getting used to the fact, oh, you want this meat substitute or that? Great, you can transition over. But what happens is a lot of people end up getting stuck in that food, and that's all they eat. And it's still very processed food, and you still get sick. Okay, because it's I will say this, people argue with me and they'll say, oh, the Beyond Burger is so processed. And it is, it's absolutely processed. But the Beyond Burger on its worst day is better than an animal burger on its best day. All right, so there are, in answer to your question, there are wonderful books out there. I have a book out. Okay, How to Cure Chronic Diseases with a Raw Vegan Diet. It's out. It's under Dr. Earendil Spindelilus. It's on Amazon. That's one with hundreds of recipes in there for raw vegan. You can, well, let me see. I can probably find it.
You can link it.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll link it in the description in here. It's a good selling book. It's got a lot of medical facts behind it, a lot of science behind it. And again, hundreds of recipes. People go, oh, being raw is so hard. It's actually incredibly easy. It's extremely easy. My wife and I, we will probably prep maybe Friday morning, sometimes Saturday morning, and I'm done for the week because we just put it in the fridge. If you're curious, another thing that will help you, I am happy to give away tons of nutritional information for free. You can message me on Facebook, send me your email, and I will forward you a lot of recipes and menu plans and things of that nature to see if that'll help you. All right? Okay, what you got?
What advice do you have for a younger person living in a family, but the family is not open to a vegan lifestyle?
Oh, okay. So this is about people who are young and they're living in a family that is not predisposed to being vegan. Absolutely, that can be really tough. I know. I've been there. When I was 12 years old, I went to my stepmother and I said, because back then all we knew was the word vegetarian. Vegan didn't really exist at the time. It can mean the same thing, but not back then. We didn't know. And I went and I said, I want to be a vegetarian. I don't want to eat this meat anymore. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And she said, oh, that's what hippies do. You can't do it. And so I resisted in other ways. I'm not saying for you to do this, but I resisted in other ways. I would, sometimes when I would get fed meat, I would take it and I would hide it around the house where they couldn't see that I hadn't eaten it. I'm not recommending that. Not a healthy thing, sanitary thing to do to the house. If you're of legal age, but still a young person, you do the best you can and go out and go to the local health food stores and things of that nature. But in a lot of cases, financial wherewithal doesn't allow you to do that so easily. So what we recommend in cases like this, and I am, again, happy to help, I will flood anyone here with nutritional information as well as why be vegan? Why eat healthier and things of that nature? The best thing you can do is to slowly start educating your family, because it can work. It can take a while, but it can work. It's the old cliche. Even gentle rain falling on a mountain over time will turn that mountain into a beach. It may take a long time, but it can happen. So the best thing you can do is to start gently educating them, saying, hey, did you know that there are 60 billion animals a year that are killed, and that all that grain that's being fed to them could have gone to humans? For example, it takes approximately 11 pounds of grain, 11 pounds of grain to make 1 pound of beef. Or you could take 11 pounds of grain and make 11 loaves of bread. All right. And so it's those kind of things. A lot of people are not going to be predisposed to hearing the compassionate side. Well, we shouldn't eat our friends. We shouldn't eat our brothers and sisters. And so what works for most of them, at least in the beginning, is to educate them from a medical point of view, a health nutritional point of view. So you start introducing them to, wow, shrimp, has more cholesterol than anything else out there, than a side of beef. Broccoli has more usable protein in it than beef does. And so you try to start educating them and start telling them that, hey, we might want to look at this, or at least start substituting a meal or two, a week, and grow that, but do it through education. I've really come to learn over the years that politics, laws don't fix anything. The only thing that really fixes it is education, done with love. So you approach your family not from an accusatory or a confrontational point of view, but start leaving literature laying around the house, or start making it part of the family discussion, saying, hey, guess what I learned today? So anybody that needs help in that, I will there too. Will help you with educational material. A lot of the vegan organizations out there actually supply free educational material that you can actually hand to your family. And very non-confrontational, very happy, very butterflies, and very easy to look at. And that can help to start educating them, and then they'll start making little decisions and then be more prone to you doing them as well. I know the feeling. I've been there. What else we got?
Sean, Tarsha said that she often feels burdened because she feels that life burdens me, and also all the natural disasters. How do elves deal with this feeling?
Oh, the natural disaster. Oh, not being depressed.
Burdens, natural disasters.
That's a good question, Tarsha. As elves, we tend to be a whole lot more sensitive, a whole lot more prone, and a lot of them do, a lot more prone to depression and melancholy, because we know what the world should be. We know what life truly is. And yet we live in a world where the majority of people, the majority, unfortunately, of humans on this planet don't care. There was I don't know how many of you have ever seen the show Avatar, right? Avatar, right? Mm-hmm. Avatar. Amazing show, amazing movie. And in partway through there, this one guy is trying to save their world. And so he's talking to the great mother tree, and he said something so important that it really stuck in our heads when we heard it. He said, they, meaning the humans, already killed their mother, meaning they killed Earth, and that's why they're out in space trying to find other worlds, because they already killed their mother. And unfortunately, that appears to be happening now. So here in California alone, just in the Sierra Nevadas alone, not even all of California, just the Sierra Nevadas, 150 million trees have died from the beetle infestations due to the droughts, due to the global climate change. All right. So it appears, see, this is one thing that can help you. It appears that humans are destroying the planet. For whatever good news you can take this is, the humans will not destroy this planet. One, it will never be allowed in the long haul. And two, this planet will do fine with or without humans. The world will heal. The world will recover. Okay, humans may make a huge impact You know, I saw a meme on Facebook just a few days ago, which is true. In the past 47 years, humans have killed off 50% of the animals on the planet. Okay, and this is horrible and devastating. And for elves, it's especially hard because we're so connected with nature, so connected with Earth, that it's a wound to us. You know, when the fires, they've just ended here for now. We were in between literally two, our home was literally in between two massive, major, history-breaking, record-breaking fires. And every day we woke up and there was smoke over there was smoke over there. And for 2 solid months, we lived in smoke here. And it was extremely hard for me because every morning I woke up and I knew that what I was smelling were trees and other animals and so forth were dying by the millions. That's extremely hard, extremely difficult. So how do you get through it? Okay, knowing one, the earth will recover. The earth will heal with or without human help. And because you asked it from an elvish point of view, I'll answer it from an elvish point of view. For some of us, we know the word Estelle. All right, Estelle is Quenya, elvish, and it, for a lot of people, it means faith or hope. It means far beyond that. What the actual definition is trust or hope in Eru, that in the end, it will all work out. It will, in the end, work out. And so Estelle is the absolute definition of, we place our hope in Eru, God, that one day this will work out and humans will never succeed in destroying the planet. It's hard for us who are living through it now. And so every day that I woke up and I walked out and I saw the fires and I saw the smoke, the first thing I did was think, Estelle, this will pass in time. And one day, all of this will be gone to where we won't be worrying about this anymore. It's a long, long time away. So one is to always hold on to that hope that it will change over time. And the other thing that gives me hope is that maybe I can do something from my corner of the world. And so a lot of people, and this has been a thing for a long, long time, if you're feeling low in hope, then go volunteer, go help something, go do something, be a part of the cure, you know, be a part of what it takes to fix that, be a healer. We may think that we're doing so little because we're only one person amongst over 7.5 billion. And there's so much devastation going on, but you are a pebble. All right, you are a pebble in a very large pond or an ocean. And when that little pebble goes in that water, you know, it's the old cliche, the little rings go out. Your rings touch other rings, who touch other rings, who touch other rings. And it's all baby steps. It's all small steps. But even though you might think that you don't make a big difference, you do make a big difference. And the world would not be the same without any one of us. And so it's the little things we do every day. It's the choices we make. For example, I love that because I posted the video on there about the 11 minutes about what's everything wrong with environmentalism. And so I'm under the strong belief that how can you call yourself an environmentalist if you're not a vegan? Okay, so my wife and I will talk about, okay, what things do we do to help the world? All right, well, we built an eco-friendly home. All right, we live on off-grid with a huge solar electric system and a solar electric well, and we recycle and we reuse. My wife even washes the paper towels that we use and we reuse them over and over again, which is great. We don't reuse the toilet paper. I actually know some people who do. We don't, but we recycle, we reuse. I'm a naturopathic doctor, so we believe in natural medicines and natural protocols. We've used biodiesel. We used it for years and years and years, using vegetable oil to power our vehicles. There are so many things that we do, but the most important thing that you can do, in our view, if you can't afford solar and you can't afford an eco-friendly home and living out in the country and being away from it all, the most important thing you can do to help save this world, and it does make a difference because you end up standing out as a signpost for others and as a witness to the fact that it can work, is to be a vegan. Okay, you save over 1 animal a day by being a vegan. All right. The amount of water, for example, it takes 300 and something gallons of water, and they say it's actually more than that to get, some are saying it's now 1,000 gallons of water or more, 1,200 gallons of water to make 1 pound of beef, or 32 gallons of water for a bushel of apples. By being vegan, you're not only being compassionate, you are literally helping to save the environment. They said right now that if the whole world went vegan, okay, I'd love it. Who wouldn't? I would think for most. If the whole world went vegan, the amount of farm space that we have right now, wouldn't have to add any more farm space. The amount of farm space that's currently being used to feed, to raise grain, to feed McDonald's cows and so forth, if everyone were vegan, all that grain would now be available, and you could literally feed the world's population 7 times over. That is an actual fact. So if you feel like you're not able to do much and contribute much, you are. Okay, by being vegan alone and making those kind of stands and educating your family and educating others, we're all just one little individual, but together we can make a big difference. I hope that helps. Okay.
Christian wants to know, he says he loves all the books behind you.
Oh.
He'd like to know which ones impact on your spiritual life and the place of your heart and your home.
Oh, well, Christian, great question. All right. I actually wondered about that when I was going to ask, and I actually left a book on my desk. I've seen like Kim Burrell do this, and I think it's actually a pretty cool idea. I may go ahead and do it too. And I actually had a patient that I was counseling years ago ask me this same question, and I gave her a list of books that were the greatest impact on me. One of the greatest books for me, I think, as I mentioned in the description of this video that we're going to do, is that I actually studied at a Zen temple. Okay, keep in mind, Buddhism is not supposed to be a religion. Zen Buddhism is just a philosophy, or really a way of meditating. And so Zen Buddhism meant a lot to me when I was very young, and then I went and studied at a Zen temple, and I learned the philosophy of living in the now and not letting extraneous thoughts divert me or distract me. So one book I've absolutely loved is this one right here. This is the Zen teaching of Huang Pao. Okay, he actually passed away at about 850 AD, and this book is a compilation of his lectures that he did back then, incredibly insightful about how to live in the now and to not let duality, to not let the world distract you. So the Zen teachings of Huang Pao was a big one. But there were some that were long before him. One of my favorite books, and actually this weekend I should be coming out with a video about it, is the author is Richard Bach. Some of you may be familiar with him. He wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. All right, but then he also wrote the book Illusions. I don't know how many of you have read it before. Absolutely outstanding book. Richard Bach he's a writer, but he was also a barnstormer, which means he was one of those that he owned a biplane, and he would go throughout the United States going from farm to farm, and people would pay a couple of bucks and he'd go fly them around, and it was very cool when it was done. So the Illusions is a fictional account of one of his summers when he meets the Messiah, and how the Messiah teaches and opens his eyes throughout just this one summer. And in the very beginning, it has the tale of these little creatures that live at the bottom of a crystal stream. So I'm actually talking about it. This video, I'm going to try to have it released by tomorrow, is about that little story, because I'm going to go ahead and start a new series of videos called Elven Parables. Stories, elven stories, but with a meaning. Very short, very tiny little stories, but that they have a purpose or they have a meaning. And that one's going to be my first one. So I'm getting it ready, so hopefully tomorrow it'll be released. So Illusions was great. Huang Pao was great. Diet for a New America was an amazing book for teaching me about health. And one of my absolute favorite books is The Finhorn Garden. That inspired me so much and actually taught me some of the stuff originally about elves and fairies and such. The Finhorn Garden is about the Finhorn community. They exist to this day. They're an amazing, I don't really like the word New Age anymore because it's been so twisted, but alternative community way up in northern Scotland. I did a little bit of talk about it in videos, and in my books I've talked about it. They live with elves and fairies every day, and they work together, and they've raised this community that is now world famous and is actually considered part of the World Heritage because you'll see roses blooming in the snow and just the magic that occurs there. So the Finhorn Garden was great. Hung Pao, Diet for a New America, Illusions was wonderful. There's been just so many. So if you guys would like, I will post on my Facebook page my list of favorite books. There's so many of them, and I'll list them along with the authors. Most of them, I believe, can still be found on Amazon. So those three have been very inspirational. But if you like, I'll go ahead and list a whole bunch, and I'll let you guys know what taught me, how I learned.
I have a medical one.
Okay, medical question.
What would you suggest as some herbs for treating asthma?
Oh, okay, herbs for treating asthma. Okay, that's a great question. Who said that?
Morwin.
Oh, Morwin. Okay. Herbs for helping with asthma. Okay. You have to understand that when someone asks about can this herb help or this herb help, or such and forth. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you a couple that work amazingly well. But also keep in mind that asthma is a chronic condition, meaning you've had it for a long, long time. It's not just like you breathe in smoke or you've got a cold or flu or something like that. Naturopathic medicine, holistic medicine, one of the prime prerequisites of it is that it's our job to treat the body holistically, meaning the whole body. For example, when I treat patients for hypothyroidism, I will work on the thyroid, but I also work on the whole body because it takes everything to get in balance in order to help heal it. So the thyroid, for example, didn't get out of balance all by itself. The lungs don't get out of balance all by themselves. It takes a whole unit to be in balance for you to heal. And so if you truly want to get over asthma, and there's basically two kinds. There's inflammatory type, there's allergic types, those kind of things. In the end, I always believe in change your diet, because most diets today, the standard American diet is a highly inflammatory diet. And part of asthma is inflammation, and then passages start to tighten up and shrink and spasm. All right, so change the diet. On the diet, and then I'll get to your herbs. On the diet note, real quickly, one of the greatest things that's going on here, I should say worse, is inflammation. Inflammation is just run rampant. Inflammation actually has a good medical purpose. Unfortunately, in most bodies, it goes way beyond a healthy point, and so then it causes, then you get asthma and things of that nature. And people will go, okay, well, I'm trying to change my diet not to eat such inflammatory things, because a good, healthy vegan diet is extremely low inflammation. So, but people will go, okay, well, I don't eat pork and I don't eat beef anymore. And I'll go, okay, well, that's great, because they have their own ills, their own evils. But they go, but I still eat the good meats. Okay, there is no such thing. Okay, there is something, and this is very important for asthmatics with their asthma, but just for any chronic condition. There is a substance called arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid sounds like arachnoid spiders, but it's arachidonic acid. It is an EFA. EFA means essential fatty acid. Okay, essential means medically or nutritionally means I can't make it. I've got to get it from another source. Like with humans, vitamin C is essential. We can't make vitamin C, so we get it from oranges and so forth. From fruits and vegetables. It's kind of neat that cats can make their own vitamin C, but we don't. All right, so arachidonic acid is an essential fatty acid. We need it. Okay, but there's a problem with arachidonic acid. Very, very little goes a very, very long way. Okay, what are some other essential fatty acids? That would be like omega-3s and 6s, hemp oil, flax oil, things of that nature. Not fish oil. It's a very, very bad source, actually. They do the fish oil because it was left over and they wanted to sell it, so they marketed it for that. But there's a difference. With omega-3s and 6s, I could take a whole bottle of flax oil and I could down it, and all I'm going to make is oily poop. It's not going to hurt me. But arachidonic acid, very, very little, goes a very long way. You know on blood test how it has the minimum maximum ranges on it? Okay, well, with arachidonic acid, anything above 40 milligrams a day, okay, is very bad. Okay, so below 40, good. Above 40, bad. Okay, the average American in the United States takes in 400 milligrams a day. That's 10 times bad. All right, what does arachidonic acid do at that level? It causes massive systemic inflammation, whereas the average vegan takes in only 10 milligrams a day because most of it comes from animal sources. And what are the top 3 sources for arachidonic acid? All right, you'll be surprised. Number 1 is fowl, chicken and turkey. Number 2 is fish, and number 3 is eggs. So people say, well, I'm eating the healthier stuff. They're actually flooding themselves with arachidonic acid. I had a patient years ago, a young lady about 24, massive Lyme disease. And we were treating her, and one of our requirements is you go vegan. And she wouldn't. She kept fighting me. She kept saying, oh, paleo works for me. And it's like, it wasn't. She was under extreme, one of the symptoms of Lyme disease is extreme joint pain. All right. And it can actually be crippling. And she was demanding that I write her disability paperwork. And I wasn't comfortable because I said, you're not following the program. Why would I do that? Okay. So she said, well, I'm fine being paleo. Over the months, she was healing a little, but nowhere near where she should have been. Well, life has interesting ways of teaching us lessons. At the same time she was going through the program, another chap was going through it, and they were about at the same place in the program. They didn't know each other, but they were about the same place. Well, with Lyme disease, every so often we run a very special blood test called CD57, and it tells us are their immune markers going up, which means they're winning the battle, they're fighting, because Lyme disease will suppress you just like HIV does. Okay, so they both came due about the same week. This other guy had fought me on vegan until finally he agreed and he did it. So both of them got their CD57s done simultaneously. When we ran his, because he was vegan, his almost doubled in value, which is phenomenal in the Lyme community. Hers didn't change one single digit. It was still very low, very bad. And I told her, very medically, I told you so kind of thing. I said, I told you, this is not, you're not getting it. You are healing, but so slowly. This will take years. And she got mad and she stormed out. About 2 weeks later, she emailed me and she said, I don't want to be one of those patients that only half does your program. So 4 days ago, I went vegan and my pain is disappearing because it's low inflammatory. All right, the way we teach it. Okay, so keep in mind that I'm going to go ahead and tell you a couple of things that works very, very well. But you want to make sure that if you really want to get over this, you need to change your diet and your lifestyle. One of the best herbs for momentary relief from asthma is mullein leaf. Absolutely phenomenal. The Native Americans used it on a regular basis for their tribe members who were having asthmatic attacks. I'm not saying do this. I'm just saying this is how they used it, and it worked very well. They would take mullein leaf, which grows all around here in various different parts of the United States. They would take it, they would roll it up, they'd light it, and they'd smoke it. As soon as, I know it sounds contraindicated, but it worked. When they were going through an asthmatic attack, they would take this and puff in some of the smoke from the mullein. I mean, just like a rescue inhaler. Boom! Their lungs would just inflate, would open back up again, and would relax, and the asthmatic attack would be over with. So what we do is we combine, and some of you I know are herbalists now, Sean and Tarja, and we would combine mullein leaf with lobelia. All right, it would be like 3 parts mullein, 1 part lobelia. Now, I'm not advising you to do any of this. You're not my patients. I'm just saying, historically, this is what has been used. And they would take 3 parts mullein, 1 part lobelia. Okay, in other words, like 3 ounces of one and 1 ounce of the other, and they would make a tincture out of alcohol. Okay, and we would give that to our asthmatic patients. And sure enough, as soon as it started to happen, they'd squirt that, and as soon as it touched their tongue, the lungs would literally start reinflating again. Absolutely amazing. It doesn't last as long as an inhaler does, but it doesn't use albuterol, so there's no side effects from it. And they would just carry this around with them. So mullein lobelia, because mullein is specific for asthmatic issues. Lobelia, because lobelia is an antispasmodic. It causes the muscles to relax. All right, so they both have great value when mixed together. One of the other most important things to do, even if you don't go vegan, dairy, cow dairy. Dairy is very, very bad. It causes excessive mucus, and that's what causes inflammation in the lungs. All right. Other herbs that work really well at healing the lung tissue is comfrey. Comfrey is absolutely Symphytum officinale. It's absolutely amazing. I had a woman come into the clinic years ago. An elderly lady came in with an oxygen bottle, and that's because she had to carry, wherever she went, she had to carry this stuff with her. And she was having lung infections every single month. And her other doctor told her all the cilia, all the little hairs were gone in her lungs, that they will never grow back. So we put her on a better diet. We gave her the holistic medications for healing them, along with mullein, but one of them had comfrey in it. And within a month, she started noticing healing. She was with us for about 6 months for the treatments. Within about 3 months, she was completely off the oxygen bottle. And the last time I had talked to her over this, she had gone 15 months without any lung infections. The cilia literally started to regrow in her lungs again. So comfrey is a great cell proliferant, and it helps lungs heal as well. So comfrey is great. Dietary changes, mullein, lobelia, those all work really, really well as well. What else we got?
Patty has a question about chemo.
Patty, okay.
After she had chemo, does it mess up your body after years of it?
Yeah.
And she says that she hurts more and she cries more easily now.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. Chemotherapy, okay? Not trying to talk anybody out of it. I have dealt an awful lot because we treat cancer as well. And we've had amazing success rate working with our patients with cancer. And chemotherapy, there was a study done down in Australia not too long ago, and it was a very unbiased, blind study, third-party trial clinical study done. It was found that chemotherapy only has about a 3% success rate. Most patients that we've seen who opted for chemo rather than through our program, almost without fail, every single one of them died from the chemo, not from the cancer itself. We've seen it cause massive brain tumors. We've seen so many things. So here you go. Easy answer to this question is, because this is without fail, chemotherapy will destroy all of the bacterial microflora in your intestinal tract. It will wipe it out. This is a given. This is one of the reasons why they say when you're on chemotherapy, you're in a very immune compromised state. That's why during all this COVID ridiculousness that's been going on, they say cancer patients are at great risk because they're already a suppressed immune system. And yet it's interesting, in our clinic, not a single one of our cancer patients had to wear masks. Not a single one of our cancer patients ended up getting COVID. In fact, out of over 1,000 patients with our clinic, not a single one got COVID, because they worked on they didn't do chemo. It was their choice. They didn't do chemo. They didn't do radiation. They worked on their diets, and they took the holistic medications, which by its very nature supports the immune system. So they didn't get COVID. They didn't have any of those issues with it. All right. So in your intestinal tract, 70 to 80% of your immune system's right here. The very thing you need to fight cancer is right here. And what does chemo do? It wipes it out. All right. And so it's extremely contraindicated. That's why most people die from the chemo, not from the cancer. Chemotherapy by history only has a 3% success rate, and usually only the first treatment has any significant success. It's usually the most shrink it occurs in the first dose, the first treatment. After that, it starts to go down. Now, there are people out there that have won the lottery and the chemo helped them. Okay, the problem is, statistically, most of these cancers that are treated this way return within 5 years. Okay, all of our cancer patients that we treated, we've never seen a patient, even after 5 years, ever have that cancer return again. So it's a blessing to see it. So chemotherapy, by its very nature, destroys your immune system. All right, because chemo's bet is who dies first, you or the cancer. All right, so you wipe out your immune system. So I tell patients, If you've gone through chemo, you've got to get rid of the candida that was caused by the yeast overgrowth because the bacteria was wiped out. And it just so happens about you crying and your mood swings and depressions and such. There's some wonderful articles out and books out now calling this the gut your second brain, because serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that's made in the brain, serotonin, some people mistakenly call it the happy neurotransmitter. It's not. That'd be more like dopamine or GABA because they're more associated with sexual issues. But serotonin would be better called the coping neurotransmitter. It allows you to cope with life, to be able to say, okay, I can handle this. It's okay. Well, golly gee whiz, it's also made in the intestinal tract. All right. So when the intestinal tract has dysbiosis, which means an imbalance of microflora, one of the prime symptoms also is emotional difficulties, anxiety, depression, and so forth. And I have seen patients that literally took the 18 days. There's a wonderful 18-day cleanse. It's in our books. I give all this information away for free. We have all of our chronic cancer patients go through a candida cleanse. And it may not cure their anxiety and depression, because we do it for all chronic patients, but those are some. But so many notice by the end of the 18 days, they're already not as anxious, they're not as depressed, they're coping better. So chemotherapy absolutely wipes out your immune system, wipes out part of your serotonin levels, and does cause the conditions you're talking about. It can be fixed. Get that candida out and start doing. Then don't do probiotics now. It's worthless if you already have a candida overgrowth, which most Americans do. But fix this first, then start doing things like fermented foods and probiotics. And we've seen amazing changes with just that alone. What else we got?
Couple of questions on the solar.
Oh.
How do you start to go off grid, and what do you do about the cost? Are there any ways you can help?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. How to do solar. Okay. That's amazing because we have 30 solar panels on just for the house and another 3 for the well. Yes, absolutely. It can be prohibitively expensive, but there are good things that have happened and good things coming and happening now. When Peggy and I first started going solar, I wanted to make sure I didn't blow up the house or do anything like that. Years before we came, as some of you might have seen with some of my videos, years before we came here, we basically downsized like crazy, sold a bunch of stuff. You couldn't tell that by my books behind me, but we downsized like crazy. We bought an RV, we moved in an RV park, and we just started squirreling our money away because, the whole tiny house movement, absolutely wonderful. If you can live with each other, which my wife and I are together pretty much 24/7, and it's a blessing, not a curse, babe. Okay, it's a blessing to be with my best friend, 24/7. Okay. If you can live in a tiny home, you can save money, and we did, and we stayed in that RV for about 4.5 years, and we squirreled the money away. While we were in the RV, we started experimenting, and I knew start small. So I studied about what it takes to do solar, and I will be happy to help people do that. If you want that as part of the school, I'll do a solar class to help you with that. I'll do a solar workshop if you'd like to help teach you. It's not hard to do. So we just went out and bought just 3 panels and bought some batteries, all right, and bought an inverter and some little charge controllers. This still can be hundreds to $1,000 or so just to do that, but it's a start. You can start really small. And I started drilling holes in the top of our RV, and I put the panels up there and started experimenting. And I had a big bada boom once in a while while I would wire wrong, but I learned from it. And from that, we literally powered our entire RV. We actually had a battle with the electric company because the month that we were getting ready to leave and move up here, we decided, let's see if we can run the RV completely solar, no city power. In an RV park, it's easy. You just unplug from the utility system that's right there in the RV park. And I knew ahead of time, start taking pictures. So every day with a timestamp, I took a picture of the meter, and the meter never moved. And we ran our microwave, didn't we, babe? Mm-hmm. We ran our microwave, we ate everything, that we ran the fridge, we did everything. Even on a small system, you can do that. And after a month, we got a bill from the electric company for about $30-40. And I went, why are you charging us this? We weren't on grid. Oh, no, you used your power. And I said, you are using history to charge, and that's illegal. Oh, we don't do that. I said, you are, because we didn't use 1 watt, not a single watt. And they said, yes, you did. And I said, here. And I uploaded all my pictures of them. And then within a couple of days, we got a bill for about $2 just for the fee, because we still had an account. So you start really, really small, but there's a great blessing today that we're still using them, and they're great solar system. So the new panels that are out now, we're going to be able to go from 7 kilowatts. And so the panels are getting smaller, it's getting cheaper. This system here, when they still ended up being about, we spent about $18,000 on it because of okay, can everybody hear me okay? Just check and make sure we're still up and running. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to see if we're still up and running here. Okay, looks like we're still all right.